Miriam, we're back. In order to heal, you have to feel. But not everybody's trying to feel, Miriam.
That's your money's worth. That was a $5 bill.
God bless you. Miriam, we're doing some things. Things that don't serve us. Well, guess what? Now it's time to realize that they don't deserve us. Toya on the move. She says, can you bring spirits back after you tell it to leave?
He says, I'm not going anywhere because everything you just said is
out here. I can't be doing that at the bar, Dante.
I really love my bell.
It's something about a fall. Well, you fall down oftentimes to get back up. But the thing is, nobody wants to fall because falling down doesn't feel good. And sometimes you get beat up, sometimes you get hurt, and oftentimes you look up and you're feeling confused. But then you realize that when you are down, how beautiful the get up is. Because when you're up, you've always known where you've been. So perhaps we need to change our perspective on what a fall down means. How important it is to realize that if you can look up, you can get up.
Close your eyes. 3 releasing breaths. So a deep inhale through the nose, exhale, blow it out. Deep inhale, and then blow it out. I want you to allow yourself to deepen your breath and then allow yourself to move into a space or a time and place when you felt that you fell. Maybe you're at that space right now, or maybe you haven't forgiven yourself from that last time that you felt you fell. If you can feel yourself in that moment, feel why you fell, what you believe caused the fall. And then I want you to simply say that you are sorry and that you forgive yourself for the fall. So deepening the breath and simply apologizing to yourself and then forgiving yourself. What does that feel like for you? Being able to say that you are sorry, being able to forgive yourself. What does that feel like for you? And can you continue the deep breathing while you say these words? Do you notice the breath maybe slowing down? Do you notice the breath maybe even stopping each time you say, I'm sorry and I forgive you? Just a couple more times, deeply breathing and then showing yourself the forgiveness, apologizing to yourself, and knowing that every time we fall, the only option is to find the way through back to standing.
Oh, Miriam, that felt good. Oh, man.
If the fall is inevitable, which it is, because we are human, because we are on earth, we will inevitably fall. If it is inevitable, what tools do you have at your disposal to turn to forgive, to apologize, and to find the way through back to standing?
I like that, Miriam. Forgiveness is so important. And I like how you said to feel your way to the other side, but then also that other side is simply standing, getting back up. Because it's not about how hard you fall, when you fell. It's about the story is about the get up. And isn't it interesting that when we do fall and when we are down, why do we second question whether or not we can get back up?
I feel like that question comes from this intense need to blame, whether it's yourself or others. And the stronger we blame others, the more we are avoiding ourselves, right? I'm not saying that everything is your fault all the time, but we definitely are 50-50 in all relationships we have. So being able to step back from the blame, whether it's on yourself or on someone else, and focus on my role, their role. Now, how do I make my way through back up?
Because if you can look up, you can get up.
Because if you look up, you can get up. Perfect.
Miriam, I'm telling you, we're talking about when we fall down and how we get back up. I had a fall this past weekend. Dawn, how did you fall? You're not going to pretend to ask me, how did I fall, Miriam?
No, you know why? Because we're going to first welcome all of our viewers, and then I'm going to prepare everybody to not laugh, because Dawn's story is very serious. But I know my mom is watching, and my mom, if you tell my mom a story about falling, she will laugh first before she says, "Are you okay?"
Okay. Oh. Yes. We're back. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
I see we have some viewers here. Where are you tuning in from? Say hello. We want to see you. We appreciate you. Thank you for showing up for us, but more importantly, thank you for showing up for yourself. This is Be Inspired with Dawn and Miriam, where we talk about inspiration, motivation, and we're tapping into intuition.
And we're going to enjoy the theme, the inspiration for today's theme, falling and getting back up.
Yes. Now, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to the Donnie McClurkin track. We fall down, we get up. Because sometimes I feel like we beat ourselves so hard when we fall down, we're not realizing that it's all about the get up. In fact, that's where the story comes. In fact, we never question or second question when the sun sets only to rise again. So why is it that we're so hard on ourselves, Miriam? Why is that? Why is that?
Oh, I'm gonna answer that after we hear your story.
Okay.
But I think we all have stories like this, but this is a doozy.
What's the doozy? Oh, the fall?
Your story. That's your
hot mess. Okay, people. This past Sunday, I hosted the 150th celebration for Los Angeles High School, the first and oldest public school in Los Angeles. I want to say Southern California, but for sure, the Los Angeles Unified School District.
No kidding. I didn't realize that.
It was your mom. So because preparing for this big moment, I'm like, okay, I got to get all my prep work done, meaning all my grooming, the whole shebang. I'm very a metro accessible, type of girl. So I'm on my scooter. Yes, my electric scooter. And, I'm already feeling brave. Like I'm dipping and doing it. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So my scooter contracts down. Unfortunately, I didn't make sure that it snapped up all the way. And riding, next thing I know, I felt like Mary J. Blige. I'm going down. And I skirted on the cement, as you can see. That is not cute. That's not cute at all. And then I also, the way this camera looks, it looks as though that there's a blend of eyeshadow. No, that is a black eye that is healing.
Black. And it was swollen.
Like I had a whole moment on the side. Like I want to show the people, but I'm like, is this too much?
No, show the people.
We're family, right? Oh gosh, we're family, and this is what we do. Are you guys ready?
Did anyone ask you if you were okay? Did anyone stop?
Actually, no, they didn't.
Oh.
And there were these two gentlemen, I want to say young gentlemen, but shoot, they probably were in their mid-20s or so. They wanted to snicker and laugh. I must have stood up and I just looked. Because it comes to a point, I feel like as adults, Miriam, you're laughing. That was a chuckle.
I'm laughing in shock that they actually didn't say anything. And not only did they not say anything, but they snickered and laughed. Like,
Look,
that's
guys, do you see that? That's insane.
it's really bad.
It happened so quickly. And all I could think about is like, oh my gosh, get back up.
Mhm.
And I didn't even feel the pain that was here, nor have like a scar on my shoulder.
Mhm.
The thing I was concerned about was my face, because I felt that the side of my head is what I hit the most. I was like, oh my gosh. I said, we cannot mess up the mug, Miriam. That is not what we can do. So I made it back home. And once I looked in the mirror, the picture that I just showed you, I'll show you again. This is the knot that we had. Then, as time progressed, what was now the knot proceeded to turn into a black eye.
Yeah.
And so here we are now. And I was just sharing with Miriam, I said, I posted a picture on social media, and I'm thinking everybody's going to ask, like, Dawn, are you okay? Like, Dawn, what happened? Everybody's like, oh my gosh, you're gorgeous. Do we all see that black eye? That is clearly a black eye. Now, granted, I'm going to give you a look because that's what I'm going to do. But it was very jarring, and it really inspired like our topic for today, how we fall down, but we get back up.
And okay, so I want to talk about falls like that because, when I actually had texted Dawn for something else, and then she just kind of in passing mentions she fell, and I'm like, hold on, go back, let's talk about that. And I asked her, I said, is there something you're not hearing or seeing? Are you and listen, to be fair, you were feeling off balance physically and emotionally all week. You were already feeling off balance. So
it's everywhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not like a scooter girl, so I can't really pass judgment. But if we're already feeling off balance, we try our best to navigate consciously, like, okay, I'm already feeling off balance, so maybe today's not a good day to do A, B, or C, and I think when we start to connect the dots of being emotionally imbalanced and how that affects us physically and how it can affect your physical balance and does affect your physical balance, again, I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying that when we're already off balance, we're already working from a place that's not fully conscious. And so we're missing things, right? And so, like you said, you missed that you didn't lock it all the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
You missed that. And you probably, maybe, had you not already been feeling emotionally a little rocky, maybe you wouldn't have missed that, But the fall is there for a reason. The fall is there to teach us. I remember before a really big change in my life, I went flying. It was kind of funny, but at the time it wasn't funny. I was walking my one dog, Oliver, and he was barking at this dog and this guy walking past us. And he just went nuts and got in front of me. And there was so much change happening in my life. I was not grounded. I was not anything. And I just went flying over him and just landed really hard, which is, when I think back, it was really funny. But the guy that was walking his dog that caused the chaos, not that I'm blaming him, but he just stood there and stared and didn't even keep walking and didn't even ask if I was okay, didn't offer to help, nothing. I think sometimes, I don't know. I don't know. I can't explain it. But my point is, when I look back on the times that I've had massive falls like that, because listen, once you're no longer a kid, we don't fall that often, right?
You're not trying to fall that often, even at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when it happens, I feel like it is you trying to tell you something, right? You trying to tell you something.
That is my friend Rosalind Pinga. I just have to come in and jump in real quick because she's here. Rosalind Pinga and I went to middle school together, elementary school. So that's like first grade. That's like over
Wait,
20
Detroit though.
years. Yeah, Detroit. Rosalind Pinga. I still have a jewelry box that she got me from the Philippines and a best friend charm. Okay, that's all. Hey, Rosalind.
That is so cute. That is cute. Anyway, did you hear what I said about why you fall and how you need to deal with it?
Yeah, you have to, and I think also what I was reaching into in my brain of what you were saying is essentially how do we get back balance with that?
Yeah.
Coming in tune. And I feel like oftentimes that unbalanced feeling is sometimes you're moving too fast. Sometimes, as my mom used to say, I remember when I was learning how to drive, she would hold on to that, that arm thing that you're going to slow this buggy down. And sometimes you gotta slow this buggy down because we need to get balance. Oftentimes when we're so stressed out, oftentimes when we feel like we're so confused, it's because we're unbalanced because we're moving so fast. And as we talked about on previous episodes, how important it is to breathe, how it's important to journal, how it's important to do meditation, how it's important to do yoga, how important it is to get in tune with your body, to know what's going on. Because perhaps if I just happened to slow down and been in tune, I would have felt what was going on with the doggone scooter.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I thought was so interesting, and I think also when we talk about the fall down, is sometimes we're just so focused on the impact, on where it took place.
Mm-hmm.
And when I use impact in this way, where it can show up. So the impact happened on the side of my head, but where it showed up was on my eye. And then did we even talk about the whole emotional moment that I've had this week since having the fall? Like, it's so interesting, Miriam, how whether we're sick, whether we physically injure ourselves, like my emotions were awry. Like I'm up here like giving devastation, giving, oh my gosh, I miss my mom. I'm giving sad. I'm giving, can somebody come save me? And what I realized was at that time, like, okay, Dawn, we need to go inward and feel what we need to feel. And it reminded me of something that you said on a previous episode, like when we have loved ones who have crossed over on the other side, how it is important to grieve because perhaps that's them being closer to us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what's interesting is if you were not that I'm going to, not that we're here to analyze you, but because you're sharing your story that will inevitably inspire others who we've all experienced what you've experienced. When you kind of go backwards to a week or two before the fall, if you were to start looking at what was coming up for you, what you were feeling, what you were experiencing, you would probably start to put pieces together and go, oh, I see how I was brought to this point, how I brought myself to this point. But listen, one of the things I like to stress more importantly is it's like we can analyze and intuitively feel and know things until we're blue in the face. But at the end of the day, it's not about perfection. It's not about always being perfect and conscious and aware. And so you don't fall, so you don't make a mistake. It's not about that, because that's not a healthy space to be in. It's just about being aware, right? And for the last week, you needed to allow yourself to feel the emotions you were feeling. You needed to be in that space, so.
I'm sorry. I was because I feel like oftentimes we get tired of feeling the emotions, but I always say in order to heal, you have to feel. You can't always just get over something. Sometimes you have to get through it at those times where we're like, oh my gosh, I need a breakthrough. Oh, I need a change. But realizing that sometimes you have to break in order to get through.
And that's what's when we fall like that, that is breaking to get through, right? That is the break. That is the wake up. What am I needing? Let's say this. What am I needing to do that I'm not doing? Now, I'm
interested to hear what anyone else has to say. When was the last time you fell? Did you get something from it? Was it something that you had to slow down? Are you someone that falls a lot? And maybe if it isn't necessarily a physical fall, maybe it was an emotional fall, a fall from a loss of a relationship or a loved one, or I don't know, anything, right?
Absolutely anything. And while you guys are sharing that, let's get started on the tarot Q&A. If you guys have any questions, you can put them in the comments. And we'll stay on this theme as we keep moving forward here.
Now, for any of our first time viewers, I saw Rosalind in there. Wait, Rosalind, should I say Rose or Rosalind? Oh my gosh, I gotta follow format. Rose. The tarot card is a moment, or tarot Q&A. Why don't you explain what kind of questions you would like people to come and approach you with, or what the purpose of it is, and so forth?
Yeah, so the tarot Q&A is, I'm a psychic medium, and I don't use tarot cards in the traditional way. I use them as a way to just kind of ignite my intuition. But it is all about just answering whatever question you may have, something that's you feel has been bothering you or not going your way, and whatever that is. It could be love, career. I might ask that it's a specific question. It's easier for me to answer more specific than general. And then Dawn will join in and support. And we're just here to support you guys and help you in whatever way you need help.
And don't be afraid for the help, shoot, because we all need it at some point. And just thinking about, we all have these lows. And I feel like, you know, there's so much falling happening, except for the falling of like prices and rent and so forth. But so many people are experiencing some type of downfall in their life. And I like to think of it like how I mentioned earlier in the show when I said, you know, the sun sets only to rise again. But if you think about it, how we are these spiritual beings having this human experience is no different from a frequency or energy. It lets you know that you're alive. If we were at a spot where it was just steady and it was going across like this, guess what? We'd be dead. And knowing that what goes up must come down. What goes down is bound to go up, because if you can look up, you can get up. Catch it, because it's hot, baby. Harlow's in the house. Can relate. Was running to catch a bus a few years back, fell and broke a bone in my hand. Definitely taught me to slow down and be more aware myself. I can relate, Harlow. I have another story.
Story time. We need a little, like, something for story time. You have like a little
do I have like a harp sound effect or something? I'll see. But yes, I recall when I was young. Wait, I should be looking at you guys. Wait. I love it. I was in this program called Scoop by the Public Benefit Corporation. It was a program downtown that actually spearheaded everything that I'm doing right now when it comes down to voiceovers, when it comes down to TV and writing and acting, all this. And I remember child downtown Detroit off of Woodward. The bus was there. I thought it was my bus. Miriam, when I say I was booking it, I must have tripped right, like it could have been in the television show. I tripped right in front of the door of the bus opening, okay? Only to find out, it wasn't even my bus.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that.
It's ripped in the inside, and it's just like, slow down, you're moving too fast.
There's something, can I tell you something? There is something about when I'm driving and I see someone running to catch the bus, it makes me so sad. Like, I feel so bad for them. Sometimes I'm like, get in, I'll help you. Like, it's just like, I don't know, but I think because you know that if they miss it, it's going to be another freaking 30 minutes for another bus. And it's just such a bummer. I don't know, but it's just something I feel.
If you're feeling real sad, Miriam, just go ahead and give them your car, you know?
Seriously.
She's like, I don't feel that bad.
Right. I mean, you know, I gotta set a boundary somewhere.
I see you true. I'm just teasing. But yeah,
okay.
You know.
Here, I have a question that was submitted to me before this. Hold on, where is it? We didn't get to this the last show. What are the key things we can do to trust our intuition, and how does one feel confident that their intuition is on point versus coming from fear or being influenced by past experience?
Okay. Did you get this out of my brain?
Oh, were you thinking about this?
I mean, full transparency, because it's a safe space. I happen to experience this kind of often. In fact, I had a dilemma today about whether or not I should go somewhere. Am I forcing myself and expanding myself too much, or am I operating out of a place of fear? But I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Okay. So what are the key things we can do to trust our intuition? So the first thing is we have to learn the difference between intuition and our brain. Intuition and our emotions, our fears, our doubts. And we have to condition ourselves, just like an athlete needs to condition themselves for a game, we have to condition ourselves for intuition. So that means you have to learn how to quiet the emotional body. You have to learn how to quiet the mind so that you can feel the subtleties of your intuition. Your intuition is not going to be 99% of the time, your intuition will not be a force similar to emotions.
Say it one more time.
So 99% of the time, your intuition is not going to be a force similar to emotions. So if it's very emotionally driven, it's not your intuition. Okay. If it's very emotionally driven, this is our past, these are our fears, these are our doubts, these are our anxieties. Intuition at its purest form is very subtle. And if you aren't careful, you'll miss it. So, am I freezing on your end? Do you see my? I am, huh? I wonder if I can, hold on, I'm going to try something. Let me see. I'm going to try something in my settings. I'm going to try and bring this down a little bit and see if that helps.
Janet said, oh, that's deep. I know that's right, Janet. Listen, you sit here on Miriam, you bound to pick up something. That's why I say salt, pepper, ketchup, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.
Oh my God. I hear you, but I can't see you. Could you hear the bell?
I heard the bell. You're on. Oh, there you go. You're back. I went ahead. Yeah, she said, Harlow said it's definitely a deep lag. You did not say deep. Dawn said that. Yes, definite lag. Also, really quickly, as Miriam is getting her service, are you back?
I'll log out and log back in.
Okay, yeah, because I'll be here with the people. I want to let you know right now to go ahead. As you can see, I said, click the link to join the conversation to share a comment or question. Before we were working to have you guys call in, right? And then we ran into the issue where on the phone, you guys couldn't hear Miriam. Well, guess what? Because we're getting savvy, because we're doing and making it do what it do, we realized that we can go ahead and send an invite link, and then you can join us live on the show. And here's the thing, in case you aren't presentable and you're like, oh, I don't want to be seen, you can turn your camera off and just keep the mic on. But if you're feeling bold, you feeling sexy, you say, I look good, we'd love to see you as well. So feel free to click the link to join the conversation for a comment or a question. Okay, that's all I have. Hi there.
Perfect timing. Okay, so then how does one feel confident their intuition is on point versus coming from pure being influenced by past experiences? Okay, so one of the cheat sheets I always give people is tarot cards, right? If you buy yourself a deck of tarot cards and you don't necessarily learn what they mean. I mean, you can later on down the road, but if you're like today, Dawn, you mentioned you were unsure about something. You're like, should I do this? Should I not do it? You know, you grab your cards and you just shuffle them, think about the question and see which cards fall out, read the meaning. It 99% of the time will align with what you were intuitively feeling.
Are you serious?
That's what I thought. Yeah. So I always encourage people to engage with their intuition by using something like a tarot deck that can almost confirm it, right? You can read the definition of the card that fell out and it matches up with where you're at and what you're feeling. But ultimately, strengthening your intuition comes from meditation, therapy. You got to heal and clear the emotional body. Eating right, exercising. This physical body is an instrument to connect to the higher consciousness. And if that instrument is out of tune, if it hasn't been cleaned, if it's broken, then yeah, it's going to be very hard to hear your intuition. And so for us, that cleaning and clearing and tuning has to happen every day. It's not something that just happens once and then you're good. Like this morning when I woke up with I just woke up in a bad place. I don't know why. And so I had to get into meditation and yoga to really bring myself to a place of balance. It was just the brain taking over. It's the, the fears and the emotions, they all rush up, and then you have to balance them all out. And then, and then some days are still kind of like, not great, but you're balanced at least. And I'm not being driven by my fear.
Why do we need cards? Janet has a question.
Sure.
Janet says, what exactly is a medium? Okay, because I'm thinking like psychic, medium, tarot cards, that goes into that whole realm. But I guess we should break down exactly what a medium is for anybody else that's wondering too.
Yeah, so you could probably Google a better definition than what I'm about to give, but I'm going to try. So as a medium, so traditionally a medium is able to channel information from people who have died. Okay. A medium can speak to those who have crossed over. A medium can foresee the future. That's like kind of your simple version. But the way I like to teach is that some people are born with this heightened sense of mediumship, this heightened sense of psychic ability, right? But that's a thing we all have. It's not so much about, can I talk to dead people? Can I see the future? It's about, can I balance my emotional body enough so that I can get through the day from a very balanced, clear, intuitive, conscious place? But that's something that all of us should be ideally looking to achieve. But a medium is basically someone born with, they're born with it more heightened than the average person, right? That's all. So at a young age, I was doing stuff like, seeing dead people, talking to dead people. Whereas maybe another child at that age wasn't seeing or doing that. But that person maybe can develop that years later.
Did you know they were dead though?
I'd have to ask my mom. I think I had made a comment not realizing they were. And my mom had to clarify that for me, that you're talking about someone who's not, or maybe I had said, I honestly, the older I get, the more I have to ask her, see if she remembers how that all played out.
My mother never professed herself as a medium, but she talked about as a little girl, like she told me the stories how there was this young man that was sitting in it was in a rocking chair in the front room of the house, and he had a flannel shirt on, and my mom was describing who he was, and it was later on she found that he was deceased. This is back in the day during this time where, remember the bear claw tubs? So we talking like the 50s, 60s, and that was probably even before then, because she was at her grandmother's house. And she talks about how there was a point where she used to play with them. Like they'll be up there playing the piano, and they will be interacting and doing all kinds of things. And I feel like, and I definitely want to make this clear as we communicate, as we become family. You're welcoming us into your home, thank you so much, and into your life, is that sometimes people look at it as a way of being demonic. And somebody's like, oh, I don't mess with psychics because they up here messing with the other realm and they're predicting the future. Well, if you are a faith-based person, what is the difference between somebody that may be prophesizing over you? Or the same thing if you're looking for somebody to do a prayer or to perhaps relieve all your sins to. I mean, depending on how you think about it, somebody could say, oh, well, I'm not about to put my faith all in these tarot cards and all that kind of stuff. But whether you have a tarot card in your hand or you have a rosary, can somebody, I'm just wondering if we can have a conversation.
Janet seems to agree.
For which part? I wonder which part, Janet, which part are you agreeing on? And then James is saying, what's the sixth sense?
Okay, so I'm gonna it's funny because someone emailed me the other day and was like talking about how they found this video, and and someone's talking about all the different realms, and they're making sense of this, that, and the other. So just to clarify for me, James, the sixth sense is your intuition. for those that follow me, you know that I don't have textbook answers for a lot of these questions. And the reason why I don't have textbook answers is because I don't believe in textbook answers. When it comes to our intuition, when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to anything of that sort, there is no textbook answer, because everyone experiences their intuition and their sixth sense, their third eye, they see, they feel, they hear differently. Some people feel things like, I felt it and then he called. Some people are like, oh, I saw a flash of his face. Right. And then he called. And so it's different for everyone. So, you know, basically I like to say, not that James is by any means, I'm not picking on James, but something I like to take the opportunity to teach is, let's not get caught up on definitions, and instead let's experience this stuff ourselves. So probably everyone listening has had a moment in their life where they thought of someone and they showed up, or they thought of something and it happened, or they had this bad feeling and then it happened. That right there, that's it. That's everything. That's your connection to your higher consciousness, your connection to spirit. That's it. That's all you need, right? You don't need to worry about if there's 10 realms or 2 realms or 3 realms. If it's coming from your third eye or your this, it doesn't matter. You felt it. And then over time, you will start to realize, oh, you know, I feel things more than I see things, or I hear things more than I feel things.
I smell things.
Yes. Yeah. You've mentioned that before. Is that you that, Dawn, that have you noticed you've smelled things before?
I usually things show up with numbers and with songs.
Oh, that's right. You've said that.
My mom, like if I know that she's around, like one of her favorite songs comes on. I don't know who it is, but if you don't know me, but I mean, it's just amazing. You remember, huh?
That's Simply Red. That's the name of the band, Simply Red.
Okay, yeah. So that song, that track will come out, and then I think our nose, like in my family, like my sister has a really keen nose, and even my nephew. But I noticed even the other day, like I can smell things like intensely, like I can really break it down. But mainly for me, it's music as well as numbers. That's my thing.
See? Okay, so but for you, that is a very much an intuitive experience, right? And even though if you look up what intuition is, if you look up what a medium is, if you look up anything else, it's not going to give you that answer. So if Dawn didn't know better, she might go, well, then it's not intuition. Yes, it is. For you, that is your experience with connecting to your higher consciousness. So it is 100% that. It is very real. Very rarely will I ever tell someone that their experience is not real, did not happen. Because just because it's not how I would experience it, doesn't mean that you aren't having that experience.
And that's what we have to remind ourselves, to make room. And, you know, I have been very transparent. Oh, Markeitha said that's Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. Yes, that is that song. Who are you talking about? Simply Red.
If you don't know me by now, you'll never, ever know me.
If you don't know me by now.
Did Simply Red do a version of it now?
Never know me.
Yeah, I'm gonna find it for you. I'm gonna play it for you. They must do a remake of it.
Okay. Now, pardon me. Hey, it's a safe space. Simply Red, is that a Caucasian band?
Yeah.
Okay. So they
had like one song and that was their song.
Okay. That would be interesting. I don't know historically how that is. But because we are talking about the different ways, because I think it is important for us to make room. And for those who may be faith-based, and this is what I was going to say, Miriam was asking beginning of the show, she was like, Dawn, you know, how would you say that you grew up? You know, I've always said my foundation of having a belief, a faith in God. I grew up in a Baptist household. And what I mean by that, there was a Baptist church that we went to. And what I mean by going to church, we went specifically on the holidays. But I was always in Catholic schools. But I always have this, what I come to realize in my older years is that I don't subscribe to Christianity because I feel like God is so much bigger than that. And I see we got Miss Bernitha Gales on here, who is a pastor, a minister ordained. And her and I have definitely had those conversations. But I didn't want to oversight what Janet had said because we were talking about the way that we sense various things. And she said she recalls seeing things or people who have experienced abnormal incidents in the past, and she hears songs and sees circumstances in dreams. And
That's
perhaps a lot of things come in dream because all our inhibitions are let loose, right?
yeah. Yes, but here's the thing with dreams. Like Janet, there's some people like Janet who their dreams are a really strong tool. So even if they are, so for example, like this is how you can, this is how there's psychics out there that drink, that smoke, that eat really crappy, that don't exercise, that don't take care of themselves, and they're incredible psychics. And for what I teach is the body is your instrument.
More.
Got to be tuned and clean and clear and blah, blah, blah. But that's because they came into body with a heightened, right? So my point to Janet is Janet probably, that's her strength, because a lot of people in their dreams, your dreams ultimately are the struggle to understand a dream is the same as when you're awake. Because when you're sleeping, if your mind is still like processing the chaos from the day, when you're sleeping, if your emotions, your fears, all of that, your dreams are going to be nutty and weird. And that's why so many people are like, what does this dream mean? And I'm like, I don't know. It has to do with what you watched on TV, what fears you're carrying, what your hopes are, what your dreams are, what all, meaning like your dreams in life. Like, and what happened at work that day. Like, so to pull the intuitive part out of that in your dream is just like when you're awake. Like if I'm off balance, if I haven't been eating right, if I haven't been exercising, if I'm an emotional basket case, I'm not going to feel that intuition because all of that stuff takes over.
And everything is working so hard to break it down, to fight through. But imagine if we could just flow. We know that energy flow. We are these spiritual beings having a human experience. How many of y'all are getting down with the flow?
And Janet has a strength in her dreams where that's a very strong area for her. And that's great. That's her skill set. But again, like if you were to Google intuition or psychic, what Janet said she does wouldn't come up. What Dawn says she's experienced wouldn't come up. It wouldn't be any of that stuff, but it is all that stuff.
I just went in there and I put a link in StreamYard in case anybody wanted to join us, whether it be on video or just probably wanted to call in and use their voice, to go ahead and click the link because you may have a question. You may have a concern. Maybe there's something that you're trying to figure out. Perhaps you need some inspiration. Well, there's your moment.
And Marquitha, am I saying that correctly?
Yep.
She said they did do, I just want to acknowledge they did do a remake. So, okay, so I'm not too crazy. Thank you for that. And then Janet saying, I grew up, how do you say that?
But Church of God in Christ.
Oh.
Pardon me, I'm not trying to, Janet, we met, I'm not trying to be intense, but they practice, they're really rigid, right, Janet? Because I was talking to a young lady, or I was talking to them because they're non-binary. Danny Cassette, I met on the set of a Disney project, and they described themselves as growing up in the church. It was very, very structured. There's certain ways of doing things. You have to do it this way in this kind of order. So that was my experience of Church of God in Christ.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. That must have been a challenge for Janet, I would think, to have that intuitive sense of just knowing how intuitive you were, but then learning something that might not support that.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, okay, for people that are strong in their faith-based, meaning very religious, into structure, it's like a thing of realizing, like, if you are that of a Christian or believe in God, and you know that we are all made in the image of likeness, and if God is so grandiose, who do you think that you are to define or try to put between the lines? Yet, when we think about practicing this whole realm of religion, it's all about staying in the line. So I'm confused. Are we subscribing to exceedingly and abundantly, far more than what we could ever imagine? Or are we putting ourselves in a godly-like suit, putting ourselves in a godly-like shoes, writing a godly-like scribe of thinking that we can define it? And so that, for me, is when it starts to clash, because it's like somebody needs to make sense of it. Catch it, because
In
it's
that entire sentence. Like sometimes I forget we're live and I'm just like, I keep going. I'm like, oh, I'm a part of the show too. I'm just listening to you so intently. I'm like, oh my God, now where is she going with it? Yes to all but that's what I love to talk about. I love meeting people like you, Dawn, like Janet. And I would love to hear from you said there is a Bernitha?
Miss Bernitha. Miss Bernitha. Yes. Everybody say hi to Miss Bernitha. She's probably can't
Bernitha.
take the fact. I met Miss Bernitha when I was on the FM dial, and definitely has been a great friend of the show, great family member of the show. I had an opportunity to speak at a school that she teaches at, so it's been really amazing. I spoke at the graduation, so
And you said Bernitha is a priest or
well, not a pastor. She studied religion and the faith, and we've had conversations of what others would look on the outside, trying to define the lines and not making room for life, for what we say, but God, moments. So, oh, I was gonna go. Rosalind says I'm Roman Catholic and heard the same as Janet, but I consider myself open-minded. And it's almost like sometimes like you can be condemned for being open-minded.
Mm-hmm. I'm here still at work listening but listening.
Hardest working woman. I know.
And I think, I think just that sentence, not to go like too crazy deep, but just that sentence of I'm open-minded, doesn't that all like immediately tell us that something's closed? That means that what you've learned or what we have learned is so closed that I want to say we intuitively as children feel something's not, it's weighing on me. It's closing me in. And then we use this term open-minded because all of a sudden we feel open. And I'm not saying religion is bad. I'm just speaking to those who are listening and saying, I bet you felt a sense of things kind of feeling like it's closing in on you a little bit. Otherwise, where does this term open-minded come from?
Gotcha.
My husband is from Detroit. His Baptist, his parents, correct. I've been with him 21 years and yeah, I should know this, but I have heard the word Baptist a lot. So I'm pretty sure that's what they were. But, he moved out here obviously, and then connected with me, who is, put it this way, if his mom ever saw any of the stuff I did, it would scare her deeply. And Bruce has no issue with it. So I find that very interesting.
Okay, we have some questions coming up, but this is our first time that we got somebody that is joining us live right now, and we gotta take it.
Order up.
All right. Hi, are you there? Unmute your mic.
I think I can unmute her. There she goes.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Where are you tuning in from?
Mississippi.
Mississippi in the house. Mississippi, watch your mouth. Talk to us.
No, I talked to Miriam like over a year ago, and she wasn't on Facebook for a while, and then I just saw her pop up tonight. So yeah, I just wanted to pop in.
Holly, are you the one with the past life that we read your past life?
I think so, yeah.
With a certain male, like there's a man and there was a connection with the past life?
Yes. Yeah, that was me.
That's how I know. Now I know. How are you, Holly? Tell us. Oh, Holly is a medicine woman. I don't know. Oh, I'm sorry. That's how I've always seen you. Tell us about your psychic skill set.
Well, I mean, some things have happened since last time we talked.
Like?
I'm having premonitions, like I'll have dreams, and then I mean, like if it pertains something to me, it'll happen later on, or it will happen to somebody else.
Mm.
So yeah, I've had that. Um, and sometimes when I'm around people, I'll pick up on their past. I'll see like things that happened to them in their past.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Holly,
And it's kind of it's kind of freaky because that's never happened to me before. Like I'll see like if they had like a traumatic experience, I'll see exactly what happened to them. Yeah.
how do you center yourself, Holly? Because I can imagine that's a lot of emotions, you
It
know,
is.
once, and then you're seeing, and it's like, either you're feeling what they're feeling, or it's taking you back there. So, how do you work on getting your balance back? And do you tell people?
Um, it's kind of hard for me since I'm an empath. Um, yeah, it's kind of hard for me to disconnect, but I try to because I'll pick up on people's stuff and then I'm thinking, why am I feeling like this? And I'm like, oh, this is not me. This is the other person. So yeah, just
That Holly brings up such an important point. I think there are so many people that don't even realize that a lot of their emotional roller coaster isn't theirs. And in order to get to a point to where we can differentiate, and to be clear, I'm not saying not feel, but really get to like where Holly says, oh, that's not mine.
Mm,
But you're
mhm.
still feeling the feeling. You're still feeling scared or anxious or sad. And oh, that's not mine. So then the next step is, what do I do to shift it, to release it? And that's
Mhm.
where that hyper consciousness comes in from the yoga, the meditation, the balancing your own emotional body with therapy, with diet, with exercise, because that is such a subtle question. It's not like, here, I can give you this formula, because sometimes it's different for all of us.
Mhm.
thank you so much
Yeah.
for calling in, Holly. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
So good to see you, Holly.
see you. And I believe that, like, that's exactly what it's all about. You said something that stood up that made me think about our previous episode. And we talk about the whole notion of carrying excess baggage,
Mhm.
carrying things that don't serve you. It doesn't deserve you, because it's like trying to walk forward while you're looking back. What are you holding on to? What does that look like? We talked about how we need to make sure that we flow. Well, just as if we were to see a tube or a clog, if you have so much gunk, you have so much stuff, you're carrying things that don't belong to you, how can you flow through it? How can you be balanced? How can you be at peace? How can you tap into your intuition? How can you vibrate at your highest level? Like you said, if we're so closed off and we're branching up to be more open minded.
Right.
Okay, so let's get to these questions. Oh gosh, we have a lot. Elle says, "Good evening. Question for the medium." Hey, Elle, that's one of my best friends. What exactly do you use to read besides tarot cards? She's asking, fire, water, crystals, cards. Please clarify further. Thanks.
What else do you use? Fire, water, crystal. Wow, I am not that interesting. I so for me, most of my work is just done energetically. So I don't really use tools. I've never really been a tool person. So it's really like I use. So if I'm working with you guys, like this, where I don't see your face, I don't see your eyes, because typically if I do a reading, I'll ask for photos and I read through photos. I use pictures. But like if I don't have pictures of you, I'll use my cards just to help accentuate, if that's the right word, my intuition. But other than that, I don't use tools. I have nothing against them at all. I've just never been that person, other than just the cards that I've used.
And like you recommend for individuals to get cards just to get clarity and see what falls out, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I've been doing this my whole life. I don't remember a time when I wasn't doing this. I don't know a life before being who I am. I'm not saying there wasn't a roller coaster of life experiences there, but I mean, yeah, so it's always been a thing, but I highly recommend whatever cards you are drawn to is what I always say, because the next question is, what do you recommend? Whatever you're drawn to, you find something and you think it's beautiful, grab them. You know, it's just, I when it comes to your intuition, you have to be the one to begin to make the choices first. There's nothing wrong with learning from someone else. There's nothing wrong with reading books and all of that. But I like to stress, when it comes time to you doing, you have to start by trusting you to make a decision to do first, not going, Miriam, what should I do? I'm never going to tell you what to do. I'm always going to tell you what is the feeling, what feels like what you should do.
And we know the truth by the way it feels, right?
Yes.
We know the truth by the way it feels, right? That's where our intuition comes in. Okay, Rosalind's in the house.
Is this your best friend from
middle school? I think so. Is this Rosalind?
It is.
Hi. Oh, bye, Rose. She was done. She was like, now everyone knows who I am.
She's back. She's back. No, she's not. Okay, perhaps there's a service issue. I do want to say that if you are chiming in and you happen to use your phone, please be sure to put it on Do Not Disturb. That can also cause where it can conflict. Hey, Rosalind, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, I don't know, my camera's not working for some reason, but yeah, it's me, Dawn. Hi. So man, so many things have come up for me. Like, I actually didn't know what this was about. I just saw Dawn was on a live event and I'm like, it says be inspired. I totally have to come into this. But then when I was like, oh, she was a medium. Oh, I was recently, one of my friends was like, oh, you should talk to my like feng shui person who's also a medium. They've helped me so much. And I've been going through some like rough stuff like lately. And like you were asking at the beginning of the show, like, you know, what do you feel has like, I don't know. Well, I forgot the question, but basically it's like, last year I got diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And so, I haven't really been that open about it, but like, it's been a lot to process by myself. And, but I think in a lot of ways, this journey has made me realize that my mental health and emotional health, I was kind of neglecting in some ways. And I've been able to like learn that. Like, I feel like my stress levels, I hadn't been managing it. And it was like, it caused such a storm, not just mentally and emotionally, but physically. I feel like that manifested and made the cancer worse. So I've been working on, better mental health practices, mindfulness, feeding myself good things like encouraging, inspiring messages, and then including like things that Dawn puts out there, all the wonderful content she puts out there. But then I also consider myself an empath, which I found that interesting that Holly had mentioned that. And I had read a book because one of my friends had given me a book about being an empath and how you can like help yourself with that. So I learned to like create better boundaries and do things like that. But when it comes to like I've noticed I've started practicing more yoga regularly, meditation, journaling. I did some of these things before, but I stopped doing them because I felt like I didn't have enough time to do them. But really, they're so essential to like just processing your feelings and staying healthy, like emotionally and mentally. And also I've added in art therapy because I've always loved art. Remember Ms. Tomlinson? Dawn? Yeah. So it's coming back around. All the things I used to do for myself to do self-care, I'm working on that again. And I don't know, like I wanted to talk with the feng shui person because actually my grandfather, although I'm Roman Catholic, my grandfather was Buddhist and my grandmother was Buddhist and Catholic. So that I didn't know my grandmother was Buddhist and Catholic until I asked my aunt about it. And apparently she was both, even though there's a lot of like conflicting beliefs between both. She was both. And I was like, oh, okay. So I don't know. I'm really open to a lot, like learning about I guess the spiritual world. But then sometimes with like Roman Catholicism, I was told that you're not supposed to seek counsel from a psychic or other things because of the whole demonic thing bit. And then one of my other friends who's a yoga instructor, she wanted to do Reiki on me, but then one of my cousins who's very Catholic, she was like, "Oh no, you can't do Reiki because it's considered like banned against the church or something, Roman Catholic Church." So I was like, "Oh, okay." But since my cancer journey, a lot of people have found like pain relief and just a lot of like energy relief from like the Reiki. They really feel that it's like helping them. So um, I like to hear about things, but sometimes I'm like, I don't want to go against my religion per se, but I feel like even more open when I found out that my grandmother was both Catholic and Buddhist. Um, and I find yoga helpful to me, even though that's like a more a Hindu practice.
Well,
So
and yoga is, I think, first off, there's a lot that I want to ask you, Rose, and address, but I think just like if we can maybe as a society get to a point to where we don't like just when you said yoga is more of a Hindu practice, yoga is a human practice.
Come on.
Yoga is an essential human practice for all human beings. Just like
mhm,
meditation is a human practice. It is how we survive this planet.
mhm,
And the way you feel after you do yoga, the way you feel after you meditate, that shouldn't be something that happens once a week, once a year, over the summer, over your 2-week vacation. It is something that we should seek every morning. Now, to go back, it's important for you to understand that yes, like disease is dis-ease of the body, but we
mhm,
also don't want to blame ourselves for environmental toxins and environmental life experiences that also cause dis-ease no matter how healthy you are and how much you do. There's things we can and we can't manage and control. With that being said, my question to you that comes up for me as you're talking is, do you mind sharing a little bit? This will sound kind of weird, but like, what if I asked you, what is your relationship to your ovaries? It's ovarian cancer. What is your relationship like with your ovaries? Meaning, even to the most basic, like, I don't know, I never thought about them, or I don't like anything. Like, what's the first thing that comes to you when I ask you, what's your relationship like with your ovaries before you were diagnosed?
um, I guess I mean they were just there, but then I did think about like having children, and I knew I wanted children, but I was scared to have children, to actually birth them myself. That was something that did create a bit of anxiety and fear for me because I'm in the health profession, and I have seen pregnancies where they've had to go C-section, but then it was like um, it it got really complicated, and then it would like have intestines coming out, um, and it was just kind of scary. And I'm like, oh, that's a lot. um, so it was hard for me to. I ended up having a hysterectomy, but and that was hard to grieve, like the thought of like not being able to have my own children, like genetic children that came out of me, basically. Even though I was fearful of it, I thought that I could still have the courage to have children one day if that's what the universe wanted me to have, you know?
Mhm.
But yeah, maybe I don't know.
And
I don't know if
and
that's the question, if I'm answering the question correctly.
there is no correct answer. It's I'm asking for you. And that question and that answer, I think, will sit with you over the next few weeks, not because we're looking for why did it happen, but I want you to take this journey on why your body chose that specific area to be diseased. You know, you were supposed to get sick and you were supposed to heal from it. So you will, if you're not already fully healed, you will heal from it. But the specific body part, if you will, that it chose is what is a spiritual journey for you that may take a lifetime. It might take a week. It might take months. And it's just a knowing. It's just for you to one day you'll know, oh yeah. And when you have this knowing of why something has happened to you,
There's an understanding.
not the explanation. This happened because I did XYZ. There's just this intuitive knowing. And all of a sudden, there's no longer an emotional attachment to that experience. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah, I think
Well, this
so.
is similar to how individuals say there's confidence in knowing. And not saying that there's a right or wrong. It's just that what you know and what you feel and what comes up to you. And even just to circle back to what Miriam was saying and the idea of when we talk about how we've allowed so many things to tell us what we can't, like you did the visual representation of when we're younger and confining the lines, and you realize how it's even giving you a breath of fresh air once we deem something acceptable, whether you found out it was a grandparent that practiced both religions. Often think at times that when we essentially free ourselves, you know, what that could look like for ourselves and others that are around us. So, yeah.
That's a really good point of that freedom. And I think too, Rose, you know, at the end of the day, when someone is intrigued about a psychic or Reiki or anything like that, all that person or you are doing is saying, there's more to this existence than what I'm being shown. And I know that. And I'm going to go find that. Because when you understand who you are as a spiritual being first, understand who you are as a spiritual being first, then you can begin to understand who you are as a human being. I'm not saying everyone needs to learn in that order, but Rose, for you, you're being asked today to learn in that order. Who are you as a spiritual being first? And then you're going to understand who you are as a human being and how as a human being you relate to your family, to what's been shown to you, to society, to what you've been taught, because you're about to unravel this journey of, I had no idea. Oh my God, is that true? And this is like, I just see you like having this unraveling and going, wow, I didn't realize there was so much that I didn't know. And that is out there. And that is who I am. And I just see you unraveling. And a lot of times that term unraveling is meant as a bad thing. It's not. It's actually meant as a removing the BS layers and getting to who you are as a spiritual being. And that's a journey only you can go on, and will be very specific to you and will entail all kinds of different things. And I encourage you to keep doing the work that you're doing. Can I ask, are you all finished with the healing from having cancer?
Now we started on the hormonal therapy a few weeks ago, and that's been having like its own set of challenges because this is the second time they've tried it. The first time I didn't tolerate it well. Yeah, it felt like my stomach was hurting again, and I was having nausea and vomiting, and I was losing weight because I couldn't tolerate most foods, and so they had stopped it because I wasn't tolerating it well. And this second, they waited 6 months before trying it again. And then the second time, luckily, I don't have those same symptoms. It's more brain fog. I'm having a lot of brain fog, and just I ended up getting like sick. I thought it was COVID, but it's not. They checked, and it's not influenza or RSV either. It's more an upper respiratory tract infection. But I've always had asthma throughout my life, so it's I'm starting to wonder if the autoimmune upper respiratory tract infections has something to do with my anxiety and stress levels, actually. And I'm trying to dig deeper and learn more about that. I was actually looking up some books and listening to audiobooks from Dr. Andrew Weil and Dr. John
So, are you still there, Rose?
Oh no, did we lose her?
I wanted to just give her one last piece. Even if you let us know you're in the comments so I can give you this.
I don't know if you remember this, Roland. Do you remember this? Just if you can, just put in the comments. Didn't we get this at a store in 6th grade? Let me know. I still have it. Okay.
I wanted, and maybe John, you can tell Rose if she misses this to fast, she can rewatch the playback. I feel like her body and so she's rejecting. It's like I almost feel like she's physically rejecting her human body and desperately seeking this soul connection. And so she's all the medicines and or these other illnesses that are happening. I feel like it's because she's simply being asked to like that's where that when I kept saying unraveling, like this is all happening to unravel this physical facade so she can just embrace this soul connection that she's desperately seeking. And so, yes, of course, heal through the physical, like do the research, do what you have to do, eat right, all of that's imperative. But really, I feel like her soul is just desperate to come out, to come out. And so there's this like sense of fighting the physical because she just wants to feel that freedom. And it's not her time to pass. So that's not an option. So she has to find that freedom through this new journey that she's on. And so I cannot stress, she should be as often as she can, falling asleep to meditation music, meditating every time she feels the desire, yoga, walking outside, just connect to nature, just like allow herself to just immerse herself in that.
And I think it's also a thing of getting connected. Because I'm wondering, like, oftentimes I feel as though, because she expressed about, being a Roman Catholic and being the religion. Oftentimes I think when you're subscribing to such a strong faith base, or say if you grew up Kojic, Church of God in Christ, there's a thing where you feel like you're so connected in that moment, but realizing is disconnecting you from everything else, which you innately came to do as a spiritual being, having this human experience, having the human experience. And that is what we need to tap into. That is what we need to connect to. That is what we need to flow through when we talk about living our best lives, when we talk about being inspired, when we talk about being motivated, but more importantly, when we talk about being intuitive. Because we don't have to look outside for the answers, because the answers are right here.
Beautiful.
Oh my God. There was, Miriam, I don't know, like there were so many questions. We had somebody mention the afterlife that reminded me of something that was piggybacked off of what Holly was saying. Can we even?
Do you mind if I jump in really quick and just let me, do you feel well to be in the channel people who have transitioned? Okay. Yes. Janet, hold that question there for a sec. I want to answer this one real quick. I was always taught that you have to be gifted tarot cards. No, you don't have to be gifted tarot, and that you're not supposed to buy your own. Yes, you can buy your own. And then L is supporting Rose. You got this, prayers lifted for your health and journey. But L, I don't mean to shake my head like poo-poo that, but I'm poo-pooing that. There's just the minute when it comes to who, I don't even like to use the word spirituality because I feel like it's overused and bastardized. But when it comes to you connecting to your higher self, throw out, if someone gives you a rule, don't listen to it. There's no rules, okay? These are just freaking pieces of paper. Are there ways to treat them? Sure. Some people treat them, put them under their pillow. Follow your intuition. If your intuition is telling you, I feel like I'm supposed to wait for someone to buy them, then that is 100% for you and correct. But if it's not, go buy yourself some. Gloria, my boy. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You had posted someone's comment?
I mean, there's so much. It's wherever you want to go.
Can I post Gloria really quick?
Yeah.
My boyfriend was killed in ambulance 3 years ago, and everyone says that I should move on with my romantic life, but I can't rest till I recover his body, even though it's frozen under 30 feet of ice. Gloria, that's hard. So here's what I want to say to that. And this, someone just asked, what did she say? Can we talk to
those who transitioned, and someone asked if there was a such thing, if we believed in the afterlife. Do you guys believe in afterlife?
So I just I want Gloria, only you know when it's time to move on. Nobody else can make that decision for you. When it comes to grief, only you can make that decision. And some people grieve longer than others. There's no rules. First and foremost, if you are not ready to move on, then you honor that. Next, I think it's fascinating that and understandable that you feel the need, you want that closure. You want to be able to have his body to find that closure. And I think that there's something to that. And what I would say to you is this. I would get a journal if you don't already have it and start journaling about your connection, what that connection to your boyfriend felt like, because I'm sensing, your desire, your intense desire for this closure may have something to do with other lifetimes of losing each other. And there's this part of you right now that is like, no, I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this again. I'm not moving on again. I'm not losing you again. And we're not doing this again. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to wait because I need to see this body. I need to know. I can feel this desire for you to have that closure. And that is valid and real, but it's combined with past life experiences. And you are being asked in this life to end that karmic wheel that the two of you are on of continually losing each other. And you're going to say to me, well, how do I stop that? And hopefully Gloria's listening. If not, I'll DM her and tell her to watch this part. But the way we do that is to tap into our higher consciousness and understand your relationship on a soul level. So he'll come to you in dreams. He'll come to you, maybe not directly in a meditation, but maybe throughout the day after you've meditated. Maybe you'll start journaling and saying stuff that doesn't really make sense to you. But the more you research intuitively your relationship, buy yourself a deck of cards, from a spiritual connection, you will start to understand that past life connection. And that may help give you some guidance on the desire to have that body physically resurrected, if you will. No, I'm not sure why I chose that name. But everything you're feeling is valid and real, and we don't want to dismiss it, especially when it comes to grief. The deeper we can heal our grief through a spiritual connection and understanding, the deeper the healing is. And not that I don't want to say the quicker the healing is by any means, but the deeper the healing is.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me, while I just heard, Gloria, how Gloria said she wanted to find her boyfriend. It makes me think when my mom transitioned, and my experience was a bit different. At this point, we had hospice come. My mom, she transitioned from stage 4 breast cancer, very young. She was going to be 61. So if you can imagine ICU, so many older people, and then there was her. And the thing is when they took the intubation out, and then her body had a reaction, literally you could see whatever color, it just immediately changed. Like everything was relaxed. And I remember the first thing that came in my mind was, oh, that's not my mom right there. I don't, and not to dismiss it, but just that because her spiritual realm, and even at the funeral, of course, I was sad, and probably just what everything was bringing about, it still was that feeling for me that my mom wasn't in there. Are there times to being missed? Yes. And, you know, my sister and I have had the conversation. I still have to figure out where I place it because I feel like it's been over 10 years now. And I still have moments where I go in extreme grief, hence this past week. But I don't know, you know, making room for myself and not putting myself in a judgment of what you're supposed to do, but allowing myself to feel. I've never had an urge to feel like, okay, I need to go to the gravesite, because for me, I'm like, well, my mom's not there anymore. For me, it makes me even think like, is there any reason why I would want to be buried and rather than cremated or just return back to nature? So I, just like you said, it just depends on what makes you feel better, what makes you feel at peace and feeling comfortable.
Oh, that's beautifully said. And all of that's a knowing. You can't explain it.
Yeah.
But that's a knowing. That's powerful. Wow.
This was powerful. Mary, we're going to be on here forever. We got to go.
The doggies have to go potty.
But this was good, right?
Yeah. How do you feel about leading us out, Dawn? You up for it?
Yeah.
Or is it heavy? Too heavy? Is it too heavy?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's too heavy. There's just, you know, a lot, but you know, it just goes back to what we first started with the show. You know, we fall down, but we get up. And oftentimes it isn't just how hard the fall is. It's just that as long as you can look up, you can get up. And I want to encourage you to make room for being this spiritual being, having this human experience. And as you recognize and you realize that, make room for yourself to feel, because the only way is to heal is to feel. And just like this frequency or this energy of this being that we are, just like the waves go up and down, you are going to have down moments, but what goes down must come up. If you have to think about yourself of being this energy, this being, compare yourself to the sun. Every day the sun sets, only to rise again. So the same is with you. Why should you ever doubt it? Why should you ever question your power, your magnitude, and how you can light up a room and even light up your life? So be that light, be that mode of inspiration, be that motivation for yourself. And you realize too that what allows light to shine is simply the light. You can't cast out the light. I don't care how much darkness there is. So no matter what it is that you're facing, as long as you continue to walk towards the light and to be the light, you will shine. So yes, we fall down, but we get up. And if you can look up, you can get up. Until next time, be inspired.